Hello, dear children. We discussed some topics of history, chapter 1, the medieval period in India, in the previous videos in part 1, 2, 3, and 4. Today, I am here again to discuss the fifth and the last segment of the same chapter in part 5. First of all, let's overview the topics again, which we have discussed in previous videos. Children, in video part 1, we discussed about point number 1, introduction of the medieval period in India. In video part 2, we discussed about point number 2, the impact of geography on history. Point number 3, terms used to describe the Indian subcontinent. In video part 3, we discussed about point number 4, sources of information for medieval history. In that video, we discussed three sources, for example, inscriptions, coins, and buildings. In video part 4, we discussed about remaining sources, for example, paintings and historical writings. In historical writings, we discussed about type 1 indigenous sources. Today, we will discuss remaining historical sources, type 2 foreign sources. Now, let's discuss about the remaining sources of information and evidences used by the historians to write about the medieval period of Indian history. Point number 5, literary evidence and historical writing. Its second part, foreign sources. But before starting new topic, first of all, we will revise different types of literary evidence or historical writings. In previous video, part 4, we saw there are two types of historical writings. Number 1, indigenous sources. Number 2, foreign sources. In indigenous sources, we saw during medieval period manuscripts were written by hand on palm leaf, cloth, bamboo leaf, birch bark, and paper. These sources were of two types. Number 1, chronicle or documents. For example, Annals and Antiquities of Rajasthan by Colonel Todd. Number 2, biographies. For example, Raj Tarangani, written by Kalhana. Number 2, Vikramank Dev Charita, written by Bilhana. Number 3, Prithviraj Rasu, written by Chand Bardai. Children, after recapitulating indigenous sources, now let's discuss second type of literary sources. They are foreign sources. Foreign sources means sources which are written by foreign travelers to the country. During medieval period, India saw many foreigners entering our land. The word foreigner is used today to mean someone who is not an Indian. But in medieval period, foreigner was any stranger who appeared in a given village, someone who was not a part of that society or culture. They came as travelers who came to visit and see India, as students who came to study, as pilgrims who came to visit holy places, for example, Barnier and Trevenier. Now, let's discuss some examples of foreign sources. Number 1, Al-Bruni, the Persian traveler who came to India with Mahmud of Ghazni in the 11th century CE. He mastered Sanskrit. Mastered means learned Sanskrit and wrote a scientific treatise called the Tehqiq Hind. Treatise means a long former book or article or piece of writing dealing with a particular subject. This book contains a wealth of information on the culture and the economy of medieval India. Foreign source example number 2, Ibn Battuta. In 14th century CE, he was Morocco-born traveler, which is in Africa. Muhammad bin Tughlaq appointed him as his Qazi or Chief Justice. He wrote about the reign of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Foreign source example number 3, Marco Polo. He was the Italian ambassador in the court of the Chinese Emperor Kublai Khan. He passed through South India in 1292 CE, and he wrote an interesting account of the social customs and the culture of South India. Foreign source example number 4, the Babarnama. It is the autobiography of the Mughal Emperor Babur. Autobiography means the story of a person's life written by that person himself. It was written in the 16th century CE. It contains vivid and detailed description of Emperor Babur. Foreign source example number 5, the Akbarnama. It is the biography of the Mughal Emperor Akbar. Akbarnama was written by Abul Fazl. He was Wazir or Prime Minister in the Akbar's court. It was written in 17th century. It contains vivid and detailed description of life during the Mughal rule and about Emperor Akbar. Let's see in brief. After a careful study of these various sources of information discussed in all the 5 videos, and with the help of many other such sources, historians have tried to recreate the history of medieval India for us. Children, many of these sources or historical records are not always continuous or authentic and changed considerably over the years. Even languages changed over the years, areas changed over the years. For example, in the 13th century, the areas of Punjab, Haryana, and lands between the river Ganga and Jamuna were considered as Hindustan or India. It did not include South India. So, children, that's all for now. I hope that you have understood the topics that were taken in all the videos. Thank you. Have a good day.